Evening. Look at this. We got a drive and chat and some sunshine. I'm on my way back. I have been for a 250-mile road trip in my Saab 9.5, except it was only meant to be a 125-mile road trip in my Saab 9.5 because I was supposed to be swapping it for a BMW X3. Problem was, when I got to the location where the X3 was, it refused to start. So although it had driven to said location because we were meeting in the middle, it was a no-go. So I turned around and went back home in my Saab. So I've done 250 miles today in my Saab for no reason. However, although it's a 2.3 turbo automatic, I can tell you that my fuel economy, let me just cycle through my screen here. I say screen, it's a pretty basic system. My fuel economy today has been 36.5 miles to the gallon, and it's been very comfortable, and I like it. And although it's got some warning lights on the dash, it's a lovely, lovely car. And because it's still here with me, that means it's going to be going in the Geoffle. And if you don't know what that's all about, then hit Geoff Buys Cars. Ooh, what was that noise? There's a Nissan Skyline up ahead somewhere. If you don't know what that is, hit geoffbuyscars.co.uk and find the £10 car, and that's where everything is explained. On my journey today, I have seen no less than, it was either 5 or 6 vehicles stranded on the side of the road with tyre related problems. The most recent was coming down the motorway. Just before I started filming, there was a lorry that had its tyre completely shredded off. Further on, up towards Peterborough, I saw a car with a tyre completely shredded off. And the place in Peterborough, here we go, traffic, where the car had its tyre shredded off, there was also one on the other side of the motorway at the same time. And again, I've said this before, you don't see this when you travel in Europe. You don't see as many vehicles with tyre related problems, and there is a distinct increase in tyre related problems. There's also a massive increase in traffic, as you know. The M42 average speed limits of 50 mile an hour, but I'd be amazed if you could manage 50 mile an hour on the M42 unless you're doing it at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I had a quick look at the news whilst I was at a service station earlier on. I was at a service station that was rubbish, as you well know. In fact, I spoke to Tony Goodman from EV Carnage the other day about, where was I the other day? Strensham. I was at Strensham Services in the rain, and I was having such a bad day that I texted Tony and I said, Tony, is Strensham the worst service station in the country? And he said no, but it is in the top 10. So I might sit down with Tony and do a top 10 of worst service stations. I thought I'd film this way because we've actually got beautiful light today for the first time in about 2 weeks, and I've wasted a sunny day by sitting in my car. But I've had a nice time, and I only took 3 CDs with me. But it's nice to cycle through CDs and listen to albums that you haven't heard in a while. And one album was an album that I downloaded when I was probably about 22. And I realised that I never had the last 3 tracks on the album. That was quite funny. I was listening to an album that I know and love, and then I waited for the album to cycle back around to track 1, and it gave me 3 tracks I'd never heard before. There you go. There's something to be said for not pirating your music from Napster. Not that you can do that anymore because none of it exists. What else is going on in the world? I just checked the news, and BBC have got a story about the fact that people are struggling to learn to drive. What car is it making all that noise? I actually think it's an M3 Tourer. Oh no, it is a Skyline. I can see it up ahead. I bet I can catch him. Off he goes. What's going on here? There's some kids and skateboards. Should we put the horn for them? There we go. You've always got to look out for people that are having a bit of fun while you're out and about. Like I think I said on a video the other day when some kids were at the side of the road selling lemonade. It's like, right, nobody does that anymore. Let's go buy some lemonade. So we did. Anyway, news story about this guy's moving over to the right, miles ahead of where he needs to. I need to be in the left lane anyway. News story about automatic learner drivers and the fact that there's a lack of automatic learner drivers, right? If you have children, if they can reach the pedals, there's no excuse as to why they can't drive a manual. I don't understand it. My dad never really taught me to drive up until the point that I turned 17. And now that I've got my own children, I realise you don't need to wait until they're 17. Find a bit of land or a bit of car park or some open space and teach your kids how to use a clutch and how to shift gears. You don't need to do that at any particular speed. You don't need much speed. to get your kids to understand how a clutch works. And I remember having so much trouble with it when my driving instructor was trying to explain how a clutch works, and he couldn't actually put it into words properly, and it took me ages to work it out. And yet, when I taught my 12-year-old the other day, we had a little chat initially about how a clutch works and what you need to do and how the clutch comes up and the gas goes down and it all happens at the same time, and you've got to be very delicate. And we had a 10-minute chat, and then boom, he's done it. He nailed it. He can drive a car. He's only 12, no, he just turned 13. And he was driving a couple of my cars around, and he was absolutely loving it. And his clutch control was brilliant. I don't think there's any excuse for people to be saying, oh, I can only learn in an automatic. No, just you need to be teaching your kids to drive manual cars at a younger age than you are. Take charge. Don't leave everything in the hands of a driving instructor. But maybe that's the way. Maybe that's what people do. Maybe we do let everybody else teach our children stuff. Oh, look, there's a bin bag in the middle of the road. Excellent. Funny, isn't it? So that was it. That was my day today. I didn't come home in a BMW X3. I was kind of hoping to. It was a 6-speed. It was a diesel, and it was quite a nice car. It would have been a nice winter smoker, but it wasn't to be. I've got no warning lights on the dash of my Saab now. These lights are coming and going, but right now all is perfect in my Saab. I do not have a single warning light on the dash. So as we go round yet another roundabout that is full of England flags, I think we're winding up towards the end of the video. Let me know what's been going on in your world today. You might not see my BMW video tonight. See that camera up on the post there? We don't know what they're for. Those are the weird ANPR cameras that are everywhere. Need to do a Freedom of Information request actually to see what they're all about. And incidentally, there's a Freedom of Information stuff that's just happened down in Barnet. I'll make a video about this week. LED lights are bad for you and they are too bright. Someone's just won a court case against Barnet Council at their own cost and have proved that LEDs are actually essentially dangerous. So I'll do that video later in the week. I was talking about my BMW. Why aren't you seeing a video on how good or bad my BMW 3 Series from the auction is? Well, the simple answer is it's got an advert in it, and I've sent the advert over to the client for review, and I think it's probably one of the worst, most bestest YouTube adverts that anyone's ever done. Problem is, I didn't realise at the time of filming that they had provided me with like a completely unlocked version of the product that I'm trying to advertise. So Luke and I are trying to get it to work on the sort of free trial, and I've got to enter all my... I won't spoil it for you because I'm hoping that they'll like it and it'll go out in its full, true, honest form, because it is a good product and it did work really well. It's just really funny, me and Luke trying to scan a BMW for error codes when we've told the machine that it's actually a Toyota Previa and I haven't signed up for an account. It's just quite amusing. I think I might jump the gun and just put that video out tomorrow anyway, and hope that the brand likes it. But you know I don't like doing advertising inserts, and I like to do them in my own way, and this one is absolutely done in my own way. The BMW isn't terrible, but it also isn't fantastic. You'll see that on a video as well. And that's an interesting one because there's a back-to-back drive. I drive the E46 330 manual, and then I end up driving the E36 328 manual van that I've got. So I drive them both back to back, and you could probably guess that I conclude that the older one is betterer. So that is it. That is Saturday. Long drive in a Saab. No warning lights on my Saab. It has healed itself, which is something that Luke claims cars can't do, but I claim that they can. And yeah, 36.4 miles to the gallon. Oh, if you're wondering as well, someone told me that if you do 125 mile an hour in a Saab 9.5 estate, the rear upper brake light falls out. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that if you've got a Saab 9.5 estate, because like I said, someone has texted me today and said, "Here, Geoff, did you know that if you do 125 mile an hour in your car, the rear brake light will fall out?" And I didn't know that until today, so thank you to the person that sent me that text message. That's it. That is Friday. There's a beautiful building, and we're going to get a bit of sunset as we crest this hill, just to finish up this little evening driving podcast as we head into Ombersley, which is the place with the worst mobile phone signal in the world. But I'm stalling now because the trees are beautiful, and I think our little vista up ahead may well open up here, and we might get a little bit of sky. We might not, but we can hope. It's nice to see the sun because we haven't seen hardly any sunshine for 2 weeks now, which is shocking. Big road trip coming up on the channel next week. Biggest road trip I've ever done, and I'm very excited about it. So all of that to come, and lots of content to cover of stuff that I forgot to cover in the week. And there's an auction video as well coming up. So yeah, it's all good. You know, I'll keep the variety coming on the Geoff Buys Cars channel. Not every video is going to be for everyone, but that's the way it is. Tune in on an evening on Geoff Buys Cars and see what we're up to on any given day. Look at that sky. It's nice to see normal clouds and not just an absolute blanket covering of grey. But as I said, that's a conspiracy theory. Although the only difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth seems to be a matter of months. Thank you very much for watching this evening drive with Geoff in a Saab.